Hi, I'm Jackie.
And I'm Richard.
And we're Early Retirement Wanderlust.
And in this video, we're going to take you through the 10 steps that we took when we were preparing for early retirement.
So in our last video, we talked about the reasons why we retired early. In this video, we're going to talk about the practical step-by-step that we made when we decided we were going to retire early.
We're really simple people, and we decided right from the start of this process that we were going to keep it as simple as possible. So we haven't got any sophisticated financial plans, we haven't got any sophisticated spreadsheets to take you through. It's just we went from our gut and we tried to keep it as simple as possible. How could we retire as early as possible and as comfortably as possible?
Yeah, we're definitely not financial experts, and we have always thought that we could retire at 55. We've just moved it up a few months or years. There were certain things that we decided that we definitely needed to do before we retired. I think, in hindsight, if we were honest, we probably would have retired maybe a year later than we have, but we just, with things that happened over the last year, we decided we were going to go this summer.
So then we knew that we'd got things to do prior to retirement, and then we very definitely thought about our retirement in different phases. So the first phase of our retirement is what we're in now. So living from the point of giving up our jobs right up until the age of 55 when we can access our pension. So that's the first phase, and that's going to be very different to the other phases of retirement.
Yeah, this is definitely going to be the hardest phase. We are both teachers. We've retired at 51. We won't access our teacher's pension until we're 55, which is 3.5 years for you.
Yeah. And then once we've done that, we then move into our next phase of retirement, which is from 55 until 67, which is quite a long period of time, but that's when we get our teacher's pension. So we have a little bit more money to live on, and then we're moving through that phase until 67, when it's happy days.
Yeah, at 67 we get another, is it about 12,000 a year each?
We get a nice bit of money.
We'll suddenly be balling. At 67 we'll have lots of money, but we'll be all right till then. We'll live on that.
One of the things that we've tried to plan out in terms of the phases of retirement is thinking that as you get older, your capacity to actually spend money and do adventures gets less. So it's a really, really strange, and I could graph it out, and I love all of that stuff. But in a simple term, at the age of 51, we've got enough energy and we've got enough life in us to pretty much do whatever we want to in the time that we've got. But then obviously as we get older and as we get closer to 67 and past 67, our expenditure is obviously going to get less. So we do know that, perhaps it could be quite expensive in these first few years when we're doing stuff that we are really excited about doing.
I'd beg to argue. My mum is about 78, and she is still fulfilling her dreams to go to the 50 states of the USA, and she only started that at 70, and she's nearly there. So I don't think we will give up travelling, at least until we're 78.
Yeah, perhaps our style of travel might change, so we might go a little bit more luxurious once we get past 67. One of the things that we tried to consider was financial efficiency. So trying to, in the lead up to early retirement and in the first few years of early retirement, try and maximise the amount of money that we've got in the bank, so maximise our savings and actually minimise our outgoings. So part of that was to reduce our debts, make sure that our debts were to a minimum, and we've got a biggest differential between the amount of money that we've got available to us and the amount of money that we're spending.
So one of the things we've always planned to do was to make sure that we paid the mortgage off before we were 55, because we always wanted to retire at 55. So we did that, and we made sure that we'd cleared any debts that we had, credit cards.
And that's quite simple, because all you have to do is to look through, and before you actually try and start putting money behind you in savings, actually clear those debts. So we hadn't got a massive amount of debts, but we chipped away at our credit card. We made sure that we made some overpayments on our mortgage to make sure that that was clear. We cleared car debts.
Yeah, we own both our cars outright. We have no debts at the moment, and because we were one of the winners of the pandemic, as sad as it sounds, because we were teachers, we were still paid our full wage. We did manage to put quite a lot of money just in those 18 months. We were able to save quite a lot of money as well, because we couldn't travel, we couldn't do the things that we normally would spend a lot of money on, and we've always, in the back of our minds, been thinking we don't need anything now, we're going to retire, so we haven't been buying much as well. Richard wants me to talk about maximising savings. We have never been savers. I don't think until the age of 49 we had savings of more than £1,000. But we have worked really hard. Again, like I said earlier, winners from the pandemic. We were able to save quite a lot of money behind us. I would advise maybe starting saving earlier. But we've always benefited and wanted experiences instead. Yeah,
and there is an argument that says, and I'm not going to go into the theory of it, but there is an argument that says that when you've got your money young, you should be actually spending it, because actually your salary catches up. And I think that's what we've really found, that we spent our money when we were young, but then obviously when we were coming to the end of our career, our salary was good, and we got a fair bit of disposable salary. Obviously with the pandemic, we've got considerably more disposable salary because we couldn't spend anything. And that's the way that we managed to save. And we saved really hard, but to be fair, we probably only saved really hard over the last year or so.
Yeah. We've also, since we've retired and we've sold our house, we've managed to get our outgoings down to £550 a month, because we're homeless. Houseless, not homeless. And
I wouldn't necessarily advocate going houseless for a good few months in order to save money, but it in a strange way, it has helped us save some more money.
It has, yeah.
One of the things that we were really anxious about when we were contemplating early retirement was how it would affect our pension, and how it would affect our income over the coming years. We're no experts on that, but we did go to the experts through our professional associations or our unions. We had a good link with financial advisors, and they gave us some really good, independent and very, very clear advice and some projections on what our pension would be worth. And we incorporated all of that into our plans.
The other thing we've really need to make sure we follow up on is, because we've retired a little bit earlier than planned, we haven't paid on our national insurance contributions. So we need to make sure, I think I've got 4 years worth that I still need to pay, which I can do as a lump sum, and you've only got 3.
That affects your state pension. So making sure that your company pension or your private pension or whatever pension arrangements you've got in place are secure, and you've got really good projections and solid projections on what that's going to be worth. Obviously there is a cost. If you want to retire early, you've paid less money in, so you're going to get less money out.
Yeah, don't get us wrong. We've taken quite a hit retiring at 55 as teachers. You know, we could keep going till we're 67 and we would have a really good pension, but we would be 67 and we would have less time to spend it. And we've balanced it out that we would rather have the experiences now. We can live off the pension that we're going to get. We've worked that one out. We've got no mortgage, and we'll still have a really good income. So one of the first things we did when we decided we were going to retire is have a really good look at our expenses. We went through all of our online banking, we looked at all our direct debits, we looked at all our outgoings, things that we could cut, things that we didn't need anymore, to work out how much our monthly expenses were going to be. And then we also worked out how much money we've got and how much money we would need to survive for the next 3 years, because the next 3 years are the most key points.
Yeah.
We've not got an income for 3 years, but we know that we've got enough to keep us going with a little bit of part-time work.
And one of the interesting things I think that we found was that our expenses when we were working were quite elevated compared to our expenses when we're not working. Mm-hmm. So by simplifying our life in retirement, our expenses have naturally gone down. Because simple things like you're not paying for petrol to go to work, you're not incurring all of those workday expenses that you would normally do because we're now not working.
Yeah, we've got no union fees to pay anymore.
So thinking really carefully about what your expenses are going to be in retirement, because they can be very, very different to when you're in working life.
One of the big questions I think my mum and my sister and most people are asking is how are we going to survive? Where are we getting our money from? And savings will be the what provides us with our first year of income. As we've said previously, we've sold our house in Cheshire and we are in the process of buying a house in the Yorkshire Dales, which will be our home, our forever home. But in the meantime, when we're travelling, we've decided that we are going to use it as an Airbnb for some weekends and some of the key holiday dates to try and generate an income.
Yeah, and we've managed to release a little bit of equity, but from the sale of our family home to moving to our Yorkshire Dales home. But what we really wanted was to just make sure that that was our forever home and we could continue living mortgage free. And there's a little bit of equity there, but an equity that we don't really want to touch.
No, not really.
And if it all goes wrong, as we've talked about in our previous video, we know that we're young and we can go and we can do jobs and we can pick up jobs, and we're really excited about the prospect of just doing jobs that will give us enough money to get by so that we can then go travelling again and adventuring again.
And we keep saying it's going to be jobs. It'll be jobs for a bit of money, not a career, which is a big difference. Teaching was our career, it was our passion, it was what we did for a long time. But these will just be jobs to give us an income to live off.
For a short period of time.
And then we can go travelling again.
Yeah.
The hardest part of all of our plans was always making sure that how we told people what we were going to do. The first people we told was our children, Georgia and Luke. They were just like, amazing, get going. And Georgia's trying to plan how she can retire early as well, but she is only 26.
That was so easy. And I vividly remember on our things to do list, there was telling Jackie's mum and telling Jackie's sister. And that stayed on the to-do list forever and ever and ever. It was so easy to tell the kids, but so difficult to tell the family.
I don't think it's our retiring that was difficult. It's part of the plan is that we wanted to also move to the Yorkshire Dales. Some of it, we want to move to the Dales because it's just an area that we love. We loved living in Cheshire, but we wanted to be somewhere where if we're retired, we can access the outdoors really easily. And that meant moving away from my mum. That's the bit that we found the hardest.
And then once you've told your family, you then need to make the next step and actually make it all real by telling your employer. And for me, that was really, really difficult. By the nature of my job, and to make sure that my job was filled and to make sure that there was a contingency plan in place, I had to give probably at least 6 months notice. So I had to go through that whole process very, very early on, and I loved my work colleagues and I really enjoyed working with them, and I found that really, really difficult. Yeah,
it was hard leaving work.
And the final thing that we had to consider was the important point of letting go emotionally of working and stepping into early retirement.
That was a really strange feeling. When I told people at work that I had decided to retire, actually, a lot of them weren't surprised because me and Richard have enjoyed our travelling a lot. So my retirement probably wasn't too... I've worked part-time for many years, and they weren't too shocked about me retiring. But it was really strange and really sad leaving the children. I drive past my school and I do think, oh, I wonder what they're doing now. And yeah, those routines, it's strange.
Yeah, and I think quite a lot of time in life that we take our personal identity from what we do. So when people have always asked us, hi, we're Jackie and Richard, and it's like, oh, what do you do? Oh, we're teachers. Well, how do we answer that question now? What do you do? Well, we're early retired.
You were all right. I retired a few months earlier than Richard. So on all our house sale forms, it asked, what's your occupation? And I had to say, well, I'm not going to put down that I'm unemployed because I'm not. I've made myself purposely retired. So I put retired, but then at 50, that was quite a strange thing to put.
And it does cause a few people to raise eyebrows. oh, you're retired, and there's all sorts of clearly questions going on in their head, but we can't answer those questions. Even now, it's really strange. I think we both agree that we're still living a little bit in school term time, a bit on work timetables.
It's half term this week, and we keep saying, oh, it's half term this week, and then because our house sale, another thing altogether, but our house sale isn't going to go through in the next couple of weeks, we've decided to go to the Outer Hebrides, and we're like, oh, right, well, people are travelling back from half term, so we'll be okay because we're going out of half term. We still think of everything around holidays.
It's a very, very strange way, and I don't know whether we'll ever get out of that cycle.
Oh, I think we will. Quite quickly.
So in our next video, we're going to go on this theme, really quite nerdy, and go through some of the financial plans and some of the financial step-by-step approaches that we took. But we hope that we've given you good reason in the last video to understand why we retired. We've given you a step-by-step approach of practically how we did it.
We've retired. Basically, we've just said, that's it, we've retired.
Which, yeah, and live for the moment, and one of the things is we don't want any regrets.
No, and I don't think we will.
And if we didn't retire, I think we probably would have had regrets.
Yeah, couldn't have kept it going.
That's it.
Bye.
See ya.